It's top 100 time. We're looking at the top 100 players of the 2000s for fantasy football, and we are now looking at players 60 through 51. Obviously, if you're wanting the episodes from before, please go back, check our YouTube page, watch each and every one as we break down all 100 fantasy players of the 2000s on our page. So let's get to number 60. This guy was so much fun. I thought he was going to end up being even higher on the list, but still, for an undrafted player, this is really good territory to be in, and it's Arian Foster. Yes, Arian Foster, undrafted guy, went to the Houston Texans and just had an unreal run there from 2010 through 2014 in that 5-year span. 4 RB1 seasons. One of those, he was running back 1 overall, and all 4 of them, he was a top 6 running back. So Arian Foster put up some crazy good numbers for that Houston team during that time. Now, the Houston Texans weren't that great. Middle of the road team. Still were trying to figure out what they were doing at quarterback, but he was the one steady piece for that time period. And if you don't forget, Steve Slayton was supposed to be the main running back for this team, and Arian Foster just stole that job from underneath. And really talented player that was overlooked. Even had a little movie gig there in draft day, which I still watch each and every season right on draft day. Let's get to number 59. And we've talked about other players as what it could have been if they would have started their career a little bit earlier, or if it hadn't been for injuries or things like that. This guy is a what could have been for a completely different reason. It's Andrew Luck. What could have been if he hadn't just decided to retire out of nowhere? Now, I know it wasn't truly out of nowhere. He was banged up. There were a lot of injuries that he was dealing with, but man, he was so good during his time. He had one season he missed completely, another season where he missed half of it due to injury. But other than that, he had 5 seasons in 7 years, and those injury-riddled seasons are included in those 7. So all of the other 5 seasons, he was a quarterback 1. And 4 of those 5, he was a top 6 guy. Andrew Luck, he could run it. He could throw it. He had just the world was his oyster. And he could still easily be playing today. He would still be younger than some guys like Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford. But unfortunately, Andrew Luck's career was cut short. So we'll never quite know what could have been. So he comes in here at player number 59. 58, we get one of the favorite targets, and there's a few of them in this list, but one of the favorite targets of Tom Brady in here, Wes Welker. Wes Welker, he had 7 straight seasons. That's right, 7 straight seasons of either being a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. And he had 2 years where he was a top 3 guy in both 2009 and 2011. Now, his had a lot to do with PPR. Maybe back in the late 2009, 2010, that range, maybe we weren't getting as much PPR, but we're doing all PPR scoring for this. So Wes Welker, either way, even in non-PPR, was still a monster during that time period. And when you can do it for 7 straight seasons, just to be healthy for 7 straight seasons is really difficult to do. But to be a wide receiver 1 or 2 for 7 straight years, absolutely monster for Wes Welker. Speaking of longevity, this is another guy that the poor guy was just stuck between eras. He didn't quite make it into the Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, greatest show on turf era. But he also didn't make it into the Sean McVay era. He was just kind of stuck in between, and that was Steven Jackson. But boy, was he solid for so long for fantasy football purposes. Steven Jackson had 8 straight seasons at running back. 8 straight seasons where he was either a running back 1 or a running back 2. And when we get to 2006, he was a top 3 fantasy football running back, had 4 additional, so 5 overall running back 1 seasons. Of course, that means he had 3 seasons where he was a running back 2. But still, Steven Jackson, to be able to do that on a team that just wasn't a very good football team, had to deal with the move and all of that kind of stuff. He was kind of that lone mainstay for those Rams teams. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Steven Jackson also has one of my favorite commercials of all time. It was a Dick's Sporting Goods commercial. Go back and watch it if you haven't. It's pretty great. At 56, we have Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had a really interesting career. Drafted in 2013, right off the rip, wide receiver 2 seasons, so things are looking bright. But then we had just weird injuries, freak things that kind of kept happening to him. And for 3 straight seasons, we didn't have a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 campaign. However, once 2017 hit, the consistency started, and he was just on an awesome run. We have 5 of the next 6 seasons. Keenan Allen was a wide receiver 1 and even had a top 3 finish in 2017. So great run for a guy like Keenan Allen. He did it with Phillip Rivers and then didn't miss a beat once Justin Herbert came into the picture, and he was super consistent with both of these quarterbacks. So Keenan Allen, another one of those guys where it could be a lot higher had we not had all those freak injuries early in his career. And now he's in Chicago. Maybe we get another wide receiver 2 season out of him or so, but it's about the end of his career. I don't think he's going to be moving up the list far, but he could sneak inside the top 50. Oh, this one makes me sad. Rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. What a great dude by all accounts. And what a great fantasy football asset he was. As our 55th player here, he had a great run with Peyton Manning during those Broncos years. 2012, he was a top 6 quarterback or wide receiver. 2013, number 1 overall. 2014, he was a top 3 guy once again, and then a wide receiver 1 in 2015. Now, 2016, 2017, he was still a wide receiver 2, still a very productive player, but that 4-year stretch, especially at the peak of the Broncos era for Peyton Manning, he was the go-to player, made so many big plays for those Broncos teams, and definitely a guy more than deserving to be on this list. All right, for the youngsters watching, this is basically Austin Eckler before Austin Eckler. Small, speedy running back, and was a backup, had to deal with being a backup for a while, but when he got his opportunity to shine, boy, did he shine, and that's Mr. Priest Holmes. Yes, he was a backup on the Baltimore Ravens for a while, but then he got an opportunity in Kansas City, and when he got his opportunity, he took off. 2001, he was running back 2. 2002, running back 1. 2003, running back 1. To be a top 2 fantasy back with 2 of those seasons being running back 1 overall for those 3 seasons, absolute unreal peak. Did have an additional running back 2 season in 2004. Just had such a good run with the Kansas City Chiefs. Just unreal for a guy that didn't get run early in his career to put up those type of numbers later on. Had a season where he put up 27 touchdowns. I don't know if we're going to have a running back again see those type of numbers, but Priest Holmes, whoo, he could put up some big yardage totals for fantasy football. Well, gosh darn it, dang nabbit, I got to talk about this guy next. Mr. Phillip Rivers, the guy that was one of the best trash talkers in football without ever saying a swear word. He had 10 quarterback 1 seasons in 13 years. So very, very consistent over his time with the Chargers. Not a lot of high-end performances. We did see 3 times in those 10 seasons where he did sneak inside the top 6. But for the most part, it was mostly lower-end quarterback 1 stuff. But what a great option you had for so long that if you punted quarterback and you waited till the end to draft a guy, he was just always there, always ready, and always consistent to be an active and capable part of your fantasy football team. So, yes, not the sexiest pick, not the most fun, but gosh darn it, he made things happen for fantasy football. We've got 2 Philadelphia Eagles to finish off this episode. And Cowboys fans, don't turn it off. Still keep watching. But we've got Brian Westbrook at 52, and he had 5 running back 1 seasons. That's right, 5. A guy that was so good in the receiving game, and that's really where his bread was buttered. But he even had a peak there where he got to running back 1 overall in 2007. Did have one additional season where he was an RB2, was just an absolute beast in the backfield for those Philadelphia Eagle teams. And his teammate is the very next one, Donovan McNabb. Yeah, Donovan McNabb was on those same teams. We saw a lot of NFC championship games. He had 9 quarterback 1 seasons in just an 11-year stretch. So only 2 seasons out of 11 where he was not a truly top tier, top 12 type of guy. And we even saw him get all the way up to quarterback 3 in 2004. And who couldn't forget those chunky soup commercials with his mom? So we've got 2 Eagles to finish out this episode. Guys, we are taking a break for the weekend, but we will be back Monday with episode 6, which means we're going from 50 down to 41. That's right. We are in the top 50 at this point. Make sure to come back each and every day to figure out who the top 100 players were of the 2000s for fantasy football.